Eagles Talk A2D Radio. Birds have won. What is it, guys? 9? Is it 9 straight? Is it 9?
9 straight.
9 straight. Whoo! And we just faced our toughest game yet. We came through with flying colors. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to have Les Bowen on here as usual. So let's get it. Join the conversation. Let's go.
You love the Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah. Philadelphia.
Eagles Talk on A2D Radio, brought to you by Baggio's Bread in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best of breads, tomatoes, pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live. It's your boy Chucks, it's Brinks, and it's PY. Gentlemen, 9 straight. How you feeling? How you doing?
Chilly.
Yeah,
I'm feeling
cool.
great. I'm loving the weather. I'm loving the formula that this team has. Like, this defense is elite. Saquon Barkley is elite. Just got to keep going with that until February. And we're good.
We're riding high. A lot to like over the Eagles' victory against the Ravens, and we're going to discuss it definitely. So join in, all of those who are listening in. Give us your any questions you might have, anything you want us to touch on. But we're going to start off as we always do with our poll question. And this one, I'm not gonna lie, I came up with this because our good friend Pete Evans brought it up in the chat. So I was like, okay, it's a good topic. Okay, good discussion topic. And this was an expectation of him being here, but he last minute could not make it. So sucks. But we will answer the poll question. Nick Sirianni should be a legitimate coach of the year candidate. Agree or disagree? PY, let's start with you because I know you're the one who's been very pro Nick Sirianni since before the season, and you are a resident Eagles truther here that doesn't know how to take off the Eagles colored glasses at times. So let's start positive. Let's start with you.
These glasses are black.
They're Eagles colored. They're definitely Eagles
I
colored.
don't know. They don't look green to me.
I see midnight green all over it. So what do you think? Should Nick Sirianni be a legitimate coach of the year candidate?
It's not even the fact that he should be a candidate. He should be the leading candidate.
Oh, God.
Yes, I'm 100% with that. Like, heading into this season, every Eagles fan was telling you that he should be fired. He shouldn't be on this team. Belichick should be coaching this team. Mike Vrabel should be coaching this team. He should have nothing to do with this. By the time the bye rolled around, every Eagles fan was outside Nick Sirianni's house with a pitchfork and sign begging him to go away. Meanwhile, he did what he needed to do to get this team on the right track. He listened to his players, which is what great coaches do. He utilized their strengths and he minimized their weaknesses, and he's continued to push the right buttons. Like, has it been perfect at times? No. Like, there's some growing pains that still need to be worked on. But, like, we can say whatever you want about Sirianni. He wins. We are a winning franchise with him as head coach. Like, every year he's a head coach, they have a winning record. Like, everyone expected him to be fired at this point, like heading into this season. Like, Sirianni, for all the naysayers and for all the things that you can nitpick, like, maybe I wouldn't have gone for it here. Maybe I would have kicked a field goal, Maybe I would have been less aggressive on this play. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because what he's doing, the players have bought in on. Like, that was the big conversation last year, is that he lost the locker room. He's got to go. The quarterback doesn't trust him. The veteran players don't trust him. Howie doesn't trust him. And what it turned out to be that was all hogwash. Like, the quarterback spent the whole bye week trying to go out of his way to get on the same page with Nick. And Nick was doing the exact same thing. If he was this stoic coach who, like Doug Peterson, who is in his own head, refuses to get out of his own way. It's his way or the highway. I'm willing to die with Press Taylor and all that nonsense. We'd be in serious trouble. But because Nick is the type of coach that where he will do everything he can to make this team a winning team and have a success for wins, like that's what makes him so valuable. It's not just what he does with the players on the field, it's what he does with the players off the field. Because clearly they've bought into his message. They believe in him. They believe in what he's preaching and what he's telling them. And they believe that this is a guy who is willing to fight for them. Like, he's the coach of the year. Like, right now, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Brinks. What do you think?
Well, let's just, because I still don't trust this guy. Not one bit. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. Let's put that off to the side for a little bit. So I disagree to the poll. Like, this is what he's supposed to be doing with this roster. What are they, 10-2 now? Like, they're supposed to, like, that's not what this award is for. When you're meeting expectations, that's not what the coach of the year, in my opinion, is for. So that would disqualify Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, Matt LaFleur, and Nick Sirianni from this discussion for coach of the year. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. All four of those teams were expected to be powerhouse football teams, and they are. That's not what the coach of the year award is for. The coach of the year is supposed to be given to the coach who's doing the most with less. So I made a list here of who I think should be candidates for coach of the year, who are doing way more with way less than the four coaches that I just mentioned. You have Mike McDonald, first-year coach up in Seattle. They're a good football team. Sean Payton is playing on Monday Night Football right now. He has a rookie quarterback and an absolutely no-name roster, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, who is my no doubt about it coach of the year selection right now. They have two losses with Sam Darnold? Like, wow. Like, you're exceeding expectations, Kevin O'Connell. You have Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Like, surprise, surprise. Like, they're they're the second best team in the AFC. They're going to have a chance on Christmas to get home field advantage from the Chiefs. They're going to play, I believe that game's in Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. You have Sean McDermott. Obviously, he has the quarterback, but really not much going on with the rest of their roster. Certainly not as good a roster as the Eagles, talented roster as the Eagles. Jim Harbaugh out in Los Angeles, like, they're probably going to make the playoffs, even though they haven't really beat anybody. He's doing a lot. Like, this is a total transition. I thought it was going to be a total transition this year for the Chargers while he got his ducks in a row. His ducks already are in a row because he's that good of a coach. And Dan Quinn down in Washington absolutely smoked the Tennessee Titans yesterday, get themselves off the losing streak. They're going to be in the playoffs again with a rookie quarterback. And that roster, not much going on. These teams with new coaches and rookie quarterbacks, like, they're supposed to take a little bit of time. Not in Denver, not in Washington. Minnesota, my coach of the year is Kevin O'Connell with a cast-off in Sam Darnold. So because of the talented roster that has been assembled by Howie Roseman and the fact that I still don't trust Nick Sirianni as far as I can throw him, causes me to disagree with this poll.
Good answer. Good answer. I like that. I'm going to go to the chat real quick. I'm going to bring in Les Bowen before both him and I answer the poll question. But Rob Povia chimes in. He says a solid running game and the defense is a winning formula. Habib215 says Nick will get negative views because of the issues with the fans. Joe Guerrero says did what he needed to do by doing less. LOL. Sorry, can't be coach of the year like that. Mr. Wing says if Moore leaves, the offense is screwed again. That's the issue. Sirianni brings nothing to the table. So far, some Sirianni.
So
wait. PY, just hold on. We'll get back to the noise in a bit. I just want to get through this. Joe Guerrero says I give him huge props for getting out of the way, but coach of the year is the reason the team wins, not the reason they don't lose. Mr. Wing also says great coaches can survive coordinators leaving because they are great offensive or defensive minds. Nick is either. And then Job says, I give both corners consistent coach of the year. Tom says, funny what happens when we are a run first team. LOL said it after week 4. If you allow Jalen to use his legs and keep him under 25 attempts, we'll win a lot. 8 weeks later, just saying. And then Mr. Wing also says, this is a great roster that he benefits from. They're going along with coach because they are winning. Tom says, Nick deserves his flowers, and I crushed him after 4 weeks. Pete says, who was supposed to be on here, Pete says that is true, Brinks. And then he says, argument validly made. Tom does agree with your point as well. So good. Keep it coming, guys. I want to bring in Les before I answer the poll question. Then he's going to go. How you doing, Les?
I'm doing great. How is everybody there?
Awesome. We are doing great. I mean, the Eagles win 9 straight. I'm going to be happy about that. Nothing's going to.
How far can Brinks throw Nick Sirianni? Anyway?
Not very far.
Okay.
Les, I have to ask.
Look at PY. Baby-faced PY. Good Lord.
Yeah, I know.
Babyface Pete is what they were calling me at the dealership today,
like
Les.
12 years old. Huh?
Yes. Les, when you walked into your room, were you held like Jalen Carter was held all day on Sunday?
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God.
Did you see my joke about this?
I did. I
No,
did.
I don't know if I did.
You were killing me all on Sunday, Les.
Girl, you must be Jalen Carter. I want to hold you so bad.
I like that Kemsky put together a whole thread of him being like held in like one shift set, and it's just like the most ridiculous thing ever. This is a team that is leading the league in like holding penalties. They didn't have a single one.
Yeah, I know.
Nope.
Yeah,
Not
Shane have put together some stuff too. So yeah, it's out there. It's ridiculous. We'll get to that, but I want me and then Les to answer the poll question. I'm going to. I love the points that both of you made, PY and Brinks. I as usual I kind of fall in the middle of the two. I'm going to agree to the poll, but I'm going to say with the context of candidate, like. I think he should be in the discussion because if you're talking about doing more with less, the other part of the award is storyline and narrative. That goes into a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of the awards, storyline and narrative. The narrative going into this season was, what is Nick Sirianni doing after that collapse? No one believed in him. And as much as the chat wants to hate on him and saying he's not doing anything, I don't think that's fair because part of being this type of coach is setting a culture. And again, I'm going to repeat, and I got blasted on the chat for this saying weeks ago, but I continue to be proven right. He is setting an amazing culture for this team. Like, this team loves to play for him. They are united. They have great chemistry. They believe in each other. He gets credit for that. He absolutely does. So I want to give him his flowers for that. And to the point that Mr. Wing said that, like, if the coordinators leave, like, we're like in bad shape. I said this before the season. I'm pretty sure if I were to have to predict, I'm pretty sure part of this season is Sirianni learning Kellen Moore's system. So that if Kellen Moore were to go, Sirianni can pick up some of the things he got from Kellen Moore. I would be shocked if part of the hiring process was, okay, we're going to bring Kellen Moore, but just don't learn anything from him. That, like, the way that an NFL coaching staff works is you don't keep a guy in one corner of the room or in a separate room while everyone else does everything. Nick has said, like they've all said, Nick is still part of the process, so he's learning as well. So I don't think that's fair to what Mr. Wing's point was. So I agree to the poll just because I think Nick should get credit. I don't think he should be the favorite at all. Brings the candidates that you pointed out absolutely are. I would put them over him. You know, a good handful of them. I'd probably say Mike Tomlin, in my opinion, should be the leader. Jim Harbaugh, and then I think if the Seahawks win the division, Mike McDonald should absolutely be in that conversation. So you made great points, Brinks, and I agree with the names you brought up, but I do think, again, Sirianni deserves credit, and he should be discussed about the turnaround he's helped bring this team, about. So, Les, what do you think?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. The wording of our question is, should he be a legitimate candidate? Obviously, he's a legitimate candidate. You couldn't put up 5 names and not include his name. Would I vote for him for that honor? No, I certainly would not. I think O'Connell's probably going to get it. From what I see, written and said, I think people are most impressed with what he's done with the quarterback going down right before the season and so on and so forth. Has he really done the best job? I have no idea, but I like Tomlin. I was going to bring up Tomlin, and of course you brought him up right before I came on. But yeah, I do like the idea of Tomlin. I like Dan Quinn. Harbaugh, yeah, sure. We knew he was a good coach, and things could have gone a lot of different ways there, I guess, with the Chargers. Sirianni's, on the outer edge of that group. To me, Fangio is really the main architect of this, but that's not the award. They don't give it to an assistant coach. So yeah, he's a candidate. I respect the leadership that he's provided and the culture that he sets and all that good stuff. I would not make him coach of the year. Certainly an odd career for Nick Sirianni with the numbers that he has relative to the respect that he gets from me as well as from the fans. It's just not, I can't really explain it. It doesn't make me want to suddenly revise everything I ever thought and declare him a genius. He went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and at that point, I thought my initial impression of him was really unfair and that I was an idiot. And then last year happened, and I thought, well, maybe I'm not such an idiot after all. But now they're back, and there are no signs of anything like last year happening. And yeah, he's doing a very good job. I agree. Brinks is right. I guess it was Brinks who brought up about the roster. It's hard. It would be hard to lose with this roster. I mean, you wouldn't have to be 10-2, but it is one of the top 2 or 3 rosters in the league. There's no question about it.
Well,
and a lot of the talent is young talent, and it's getting better. And I think they have good position coaches, which I don't think is something that gets talked about nearly enough. I think that linebackers coach must be really good. And, I think Washburn is doing a good job and Hurt with the pass rushers and the defensive line. The secondary obviously is well coached. So Sirianni, yes, but he's just part of an overall operation to me.
Yeah,
that's why debates like this with MVPs and award, they're so fun because there's people out there that say, well, the best coach of the best team is Andy Reid. He's got the least amount of losses, so he should be coach of the year. I mean, we got in the comments here, like Joe Guerrero, like Darnold isn't beating this team. I'm assuming he means the Eagles. Like I agree with that. The Vikings aren't as talented as the Eagles, but that's why my vote is for Kevin O'Connell because they have the same record with less talent. So, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of MVP debates between. It looks like it's going to be Barkley or Josh Allen. Like there's going to be a lot of debates about that, and we'll see. It's fun.
Yeah, the Coach of the Year award, as with like MVP or whatnot, like it's not so much about it. It's not about who the best coach in the league is. If that was the case, I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick would have won it almost every year for like a decade plus. Like that's not what the word about it is about. It's like you said, Brinks, about who's doing more or less. It's about storyline, narrative, and all that. So absolutely. And Mr. Wing, he does say, sorry, Chucks, Sirianni historically is an awful play caller. If I think he should stay miles away from the offensive schemes. More leaves, we will be throwing bricks at the TV again. Mr. Wing, and I'll say this again, and then I'll leave it because we had this debate weeks ago. You're historically, yes, but you're leaving out the fact that I pointed out that he's in the position to learn from his coordinator. That's what I'm saying. And coaches have learned. This is not players aren't the only ones who develop and learn.
Yep.
Coaches learn as well. So you are completely ignoring the fact that Sirianni has this capability of learning. I mean, didn't Howie Roseman learn from his mistakes? I mean, Sirianni has learned from his mistakes, from the past. So it's like they are able to learn and grow. Would I want Sirianni to be the 100% play caller? No, I wouldn't. What I'm saying is, if you were to have to bring in another coordinator, at least Sirianni is here to help implement a good system for that next coordinator. That's all I'm saying. And again, like it's you want him to stay away from the offensive schemes. That's not happening right now. I'm telling you, you can go to that facility, be a fly on the wall, and you'd see that Sirianni is as much part of the process of game planning and everything as as almost any CEO head coach. He's not locked up in a room. So unfortunately, like I hate to burst your bubble, Mr. Wing. Pete also says he says O'Connell or McDonald before Sirianni. He also says McDonald's defense is finally taking shape in Seattle. They absolutely do.
Yeah,
absolutely are. They're doing so well.
It's always about awards like this are always about who's doing something that was unexpected. Brian Dable won it 2 years ago. Is Brian Dable a great coach?
Yeah,
probably not. But they got in the playoffs, and nobody expected them to get into playoffs. And they won a game in the playoffs, and it was like, oh, Brian Dable must be a genius. A lot of things worked in their favor, their schedule, yada, yada. But, that's how it always goes. Executive of the year is often a guy who gets fired soon afterward because the team did something it wasn't expected to do, and then they couldn't maintain it. That's just, that's the way these awards are. But Riggs is totally right. You wouldn't. Andy Reid never wins this award. The guys with teams that are supposed to be good, that are good, you don't get a coach of the year for that.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so we got this victory against the Ravens. I think we'd all be in agreement, right, to say this is probably the biggest statement victory of the season for the Eagles. Am I correct? Yeah. It's significant.
Maybe not their best played game, but their best win. Yeah.
Best win, yeah. So let's go to the defensive side because I'd say that's the biggest storyline coming out of this game. Les, we'll start with you and we'll go around to PY then Brinks. What is your biggest takeaway from about this defense after this performance?
Well, I was really concerned about the Brandon Graham injury and how the defensive line would look, how the pass rush would look, how the overall unit would perform without his leadership, without his clutch. Okay, let's bow up here, kind of. And the unit was amazing after the first 2 drives, which is the way it is every week. Jalen Carter was a beast. Cooper DeJean with that incredible tackle of Derrick Henry. Zach Vaughn, the whole unit
so
was
good.
Great. The line was better than I expected. They got to Lamar Jackson. They really harassed him. They kept him from running, a lot. I thought Nolan was great. I thought Jalix Hunt looked okay in his first extended action. I thought Sweat was good. I thought Davis was good. He still didn't play a whole heck of a lot, but he was very solid in the middle when he did. That was my biggest takeaway, was that the line really stepped up on defense. They dominated the Ravens offensive line, which was not a given, frankly, especially in a game in Baltimore. I was impressed.
Yeah. PY, biggest takeaway about this defense in this game?
Oh my Lord, it's the secondary at this point. Like minus Avonte Maddox, when he's out there, bad things can happen.
Avonte played 2 snaps, and unfortunately he took a penalty on
45 less.
Yeah.
I've
always I have a soft spot for Avonte because he's really given his heart and soul and his body for this team, but that's the problem. He has given his body for this team. I don't think there's
no body left in that body.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But no, like the secondary has been lights out. Like Nobody wants to throw at Quinyon. Like, it's amazing. Like, DeJean is ridiculous because he missed all of training camp and he was out. He didn't play until, like, what, the third or fourth week of the season?
Week 6.
It really is extraordinary. Yeah.
Like, and he spent all that time just learning and getting acclimated. And then he's playing like he's played all from the start. Like nobody expected Cooper DeJean to be playing as well as he is playing right now. Because he's playing like he didn't miss any time in training camp. Like,
yeah. And then Isaiah Rodgers, how many teams can lose Darius Slay and have a guy come in and play? You know, Rodgers wasn't perfect, but he's very good.
Yeah.
And this is a team that for years didn't have any good corners.
Nolan Carroll.
No, we have several.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We were happy with Ronald Darby, you know. I mean,
yeah, right. So what I will say about that is that, like, I don't think Rodgers has been bad. I think he's been very serviceable.
He's not as good as Slay, but
but for all the people who are talking about, oh man, Slay's the worst, Slay sucks, Slay's not a leader, Slay's this, you know, let's take some time to understand that Slay has been very good this year. And while Rodgers he's been serviceable, like a little bit above average, I'll say. I think that just tells you that, like, just how good Darius Slay has been this year. Like,
well, people react to his personality and the social media stuff. They're not really looking at what he does on the field. You know?
Like I've told Chuck,
he's not a killer tackler. You know, we all know that. That's how he got hurt again. was trying to make a tackle. But he's a good player.
I talk to Chucks about this all the time when we're in our group chat, is that there's always one play that Slay whiffs on, and it's the discussion for a whole week. Yes. Meanwhile, there's 50 plays in the rest of the game that he's locked down, shut down, game killer type of corner.
Yeah. And
that never gets brought up. Well, you know, at the 25-yard line, he let the guy get an extra 4 yards. That's not my CB1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know how people are. You know how people are. Brinks, biggest takeaway by the defense.
Oh, it's Jalen Carter. He's like, he might be the best defensive lineman in the entire league, and he gets held on half the plays. Yeah, and he gets held on half the plays. It's ridiculous. Now, I don't know what the process is on how you, like, appeal to the league. I don't know if you just send him a video of, like, look, our guy's getting held the whole time, and can you look at it? I don't know how that works, but they need to do something about it. He's getting held on half the plays, and he's still wrecking games. He's a future defensive player of the year award winner, in my opinion. He's by far the best player on this defense. He's an absolute game wrecker. He can't be blocked with one person, and he can't be blocked without being held. He's the glue of this defense. It's fairly obvious to me. And, like, he can't do it alone. There's other good pieces of this defense, but I don't think that this defense is what it is without him doing what he's doing, wrecking games up the middle. Like, defensive tackles don't do this. Defensive tackles, like, take up blocks and command the double team so the guys around them can make the plays. This guy does both, and he does it really, really well. And he's, 23 years old. It's his second year in the league. Talk about a guy we had considered, because he had this rookie of the year last year all sewn up before the collapse. So we asked for more. We asked for more consistency, and for him to show us why he was the 9th overall pick in the draft, and he's 1,000% done that. He's an
there was a play yesterday. There was a play yesterday where Lamar Jackson was rolling out to his right, looking to run, and Jalen Carter just chased him, just sealed off the corner. He couldn't turn the corner. It was Lamar Jackson.
What was that screen? What was it? A screenplay or a shovel pass where he beat the guy to the ball?
Yeah,
I think it was in the first.
Yeah, it was the Zay Flowers reverse.
Zay Flowers reverse. He might as well have handed the Lamar Jackson should have just handed the ball to Jalen Carter.
He didn't even
Jalen Carter beat Zay Flowers to the spot. It was ridiculous.
This
It
is
was
how
ridiculous.
good he was on that. He doesn't even look at Jackson. 99% of the defensive tackles in that play look directly at Jackson because you're like, oh, he's running with that. There's no way they're handing that ball off to Zay Flowers. Jalen Carter? Nah, I know where you're going, and I'm going to wreck your shit.
Well, that's being sound in your any defensive lineman who's going to bite on the ball like that isn't being sound in their run integrity. That's the thing. Like you have to be, you have your keys, you have a responsibility, and oftentimes what happens is when there's a breakdown, it's because a defensive player is doing something they're supposed to do. They're taking the eye candy and they're biting, and that's when you see run fits not being hit and filled, and that's where you get gashes. So Jalen Carter is doing what he's supposed to. All of you had great answers. My answer is going to be Vic Fangio. He is a godsend, and I know that you talked about it less about him being like the guy has kind of held everything down because the offense we all know, which I'll get to, when we talk about that side of the ball, but we know the offense has been inconsistent with the slow starts, right? Vic Fangio in this defense has held it down, and we absolutely need to shout out the players for executing. Everyone you guys mentioned is deserving of immense praise. I'm going to always start with Vic Fangio. The difference of him coming here and doing what he's been able to do, we saw on Thanksgiving what that Miami Dolphins defense is right now without Vic Fangio. And it's so funny how in the offseason they wished him away and they were saying he's a bad human being and we're good riddance, go kick rocks. Now you have them saying, I forget which player it was, but they said one of the Dolphins defenders said they're playing soft. Is this Eagles team playing soft? No, they are not. And it starts with Fangio because Fangio said after the Bucs game, all I could say, it starts with tackling. And he hammered that home. That was a teaching point. And now this defense is probably the best tackling defense in the whole league. And it sets the tone. And that DeJean tackle on Derrick Henry was a statement tackle, a statement play. But you don't get that. You don't get the pursuit and the tackling from this defense that you do. You don't get the cohesion. Like, I want people to realize, because the average viewer, we get the broadcast view, right? We don't see everything that's going on the back end, which is why I always say it's always important to watch film. Okay, even if you start to where you don't know exactly what you're watching, start somewhere. At least you can see what's going on in the back end, right? So when you see these coverages and how they are distributing their routes and the zone exchanges and how the communication between everyone, it is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. The only way you beat these coverages are when Lamar Jackson has to make these incredible throws and plays. That's the only way you consistently beat this defense. It's amazing. So Fangio has done an absolute wonder with this defense, with the roster. It's not about the system. It's about the plays he's calling. And I said it with Nick Sirianni, the coach. It's about that culture of the defense of, hey, you're not going to get anything on us. And that's why I love what he's doing. I love what he's doing. So
agreed.
That's my takeaway. Any other shout outs on the defensive end before we switch over to the offense?
I feel bad that I was talking about the defensive line and I neglected to mention Milton Williams, who actually is also doing very, very well. I kind of forgot his name, but consider yourself unforgotten, Milton.
Yeah, I'm going to get into a question before we go containing Milton Williams, but he deserves flowers as well. Oh my God, he's playing. The whole defensive line right now is playing outstanding, and they did it with a rotation of 3 edge players, right? Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and
Jalix Hunt.
Jalix Hunt. They were the only 3. They were rotating, and they played phenomenal. Credit to them, or outstanding credit to them. SJM does say this POA. He says Slay has been okay at best. Easy does giving him flowers. Sheesh. Carter is Thanos. Bond is a tomahawk missile. SJM, I definitely 100% disagree. Slay has not been okay at best.
I don't even like Darius Slay.
Great.
He's been having a great season.
Yeah, he's been great.
Can't stand him.
Yeah,
but he's playing good.
Yeah.
Stop drinking that haterade.
Povia does say any chance, or he asked, any chance Vic Fangio stays beyond this year due to the success, or does he stay true to his design?
Oh, I don't think he said he was going to retire.
Yeah, I've never.
He
heard
said
that.
this is his last spot.
Yeah, this is his
So-
retirement job, but he can
So
have
this
it
could last
5 years. or something.
Yeah, this could last 5 to 8 years. Like if it's
Vic's
successful.
like what, 64, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
I'm 4 years older than that, and
He's just done being a head coach. Like he's
the good thing is you don't have to worry about somebody hiring him as their head coach next year, because I don't think he wants to do that anymore.
Yes, he doesn't want to. Yep.
He's our owner, Jim Johnson.
Yeah, John Adcock does says we get held nothing. We put a finger on someone and get a PI the last 2 weeks. People don't want to see this group win, refs included. Since the Super Bowl, pass interference, we still get called for minimal contact. Setting the distance is not PI, but no other team gets called for it.
But there are calls that are missed. Some of the stuff you're saying is incredibly irritating. I mean, it does happen. But on the other hand, you score a touchdown on a false start and nobody noticed the false start. It really, I'm not saying that it necessarily balances out, but there's not any vast conspiracy going on against the Eagles.
They're just really bad at their
job. The problem is a lot of the good officials have retired over the last 3 or 4 years because of the scrutiny and the review and all that, or whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And the people that have come in just aren't as good or aren't as experienced. And you're seeing it in every game, not just the Eagles games, but just egregious. How many times do they go to the rules expert in any game? And he says, I don't call that, no, that's not really, what they said it was, that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous situation for the league to be in, but it's not directed at the Eagles.
Yeah, Les, I want to ask you this question. Because I've heard this be a big factor in bad officiating, inconsistent officiating over the years. Do you think it would make a difference if they switched from part-time to full-time referees?
They've been talking about that for probably 30 years now. I don't know that it would make a difference. I'm not really privy to how much time they spend preparing for games, how much that would help if they, if the officials saw 40 minutes of Jalen Carter tape every week before they call an Eagles game, would they know, would he get more calls, or would he be called for more stuff himself? Or, I don't know. From a practical standpoint, I don't know how it would work. What would that entail exactly? How would that make it different? I mean, it's easy to say, these guys are bankers or whatever doing this in their spare time. But if they weren't doing it in their spare time, I mean, they're not going to call 4 games a week or anything if they were full time. Is it a matter of them not getting prep? I think it's more a matter of just experience and time spent doing this. It's a little bit like being a pilot. The older the guy is, the longer he's been doing this, the more you trust him.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the older the guy is, the closer he is to retiring and not being physically able to do it for too much longer. And I don't know. What do you think that would make a big difference? I think we've been able to quantify what the difference would be.
I think it might.
I think it would make a big difference.
Yeah. How so? What would be different?
Well, like I do this part-time.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to drive a truck every day, do you know how much more comfortable I would be? How much better I would be at doing this if I did it full-time? And that's a small.
But from a practical,
it's a small example.
Deal, though. I mean, you could podcast every day, or you could prepare for a podcast every day. Can you really? You can't ref a game every day.
Every day, yeah.
Look at it compared to my full-time job. Like if I didn't drive a UPS truck and do a UPS route 5-6 days a week, and I just did it 2 days a week, like how much better am I going to get at being a UPS driver if I do it 5-6 days a week, as opposed to doing it 2 days a week on the weekend?
And I wonder,
Again, you can't referee every day, though. I mean, there's no opportunity to do that.
Like, look at Steratore. Steratore goes and does. I mean, I think he's retired now. He's one of these rules official, which, by the way, is the best job.
Yeah,
he's the
best one too.
Best job ever. Best job ever. Just go on the TV, come in for 10 seconds at a time, and say the ref was wrong. How great is that? But, like, he would do the NFL, and then during college basketball season, he was a Big East referee, and then he would get tournament games.
Yeah.
Like,
now that would have value, but again, you just can't. There's no opportunity to practice refereeing every day.
I wonder, Leslie, because I don't know if it would make a huge difference. I think we would still see inconsistencies. And again, I don't know the ins and outs, so I'm just spitballing here. I'm just a guess, but like maybe there would be a somewhat of an improvement, because I wonder if there would be things in place during the week where they would. I don't know how the refs what they do during the week. Like I don't know if they get critiqued and to what level they get critiqued.
They do, but it's very. The door there is closed. Nobody's ever going to tell us exactly what they told the crew, that worked this game. But yeah, everything they do is reviewed. Now, one thing that just occurred to me, and this could help, if it became a profession, if it was your real job, they'd have to pay, a pretty decent amount for it, I would guess. Mm-hmm. The league certainly has plenty of money. Would that attract more people?
Great point.
Who don't want to pick this up in their spare time, but would be interested in doing it as a job, who would be good at it. Now, it would take a long time to feel the effects of that, because nobody's going to step out of their job and into officiating and be great at it right out the bat. But, that might be a reason to do it that way.
But like, if you're getting paid full time to do a game on whatever Monday, Sunday, or Thursday, like, if you don't have to go to another job, like, you can spend your free time watching film, talking to other referees, like, just immersing.
What are you going to, though?
In the craft. Yeah. Well, it's their job.
Like, that's if you care.
Then they're not going to make it as a full-time referee. PY.
Yeah. Brings us right there. Like, it's not about, like, if you are full time, you kind of have to care. Like, you have
the standard raises substantially. If you're getting paid like a full-time salary to ref one game for 4 months out of the year, the standard should be substantially raised. And then with the reviews, like, who does the best, because you see who refs in the playoffs.
I can also, there's a little bit of a tangent. Like, with the replay assist that they started implementing, I did not know. Like, the more I find out about replay assist, the more I appreciate it, but still I'm bewildered. I did not know replay assist can change a call on a personal foul if it's a certain personal foul. I think if it's nothing to passer, but like there's no contact to the helmet or something, then they can change it.
That's a little arcane, isn't it?
I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Why is it only that? Like, why in the world is it only specific? I'm sorry, only specific to that personal foul. Why not? I don't understand.
But Chucks, if you opened up replay assist to everything imaginable, like the Eagles and Ravens game would still be going on.
No, Briggs. I'm not saying everything imaginable. I'm saying just personal fouls.
Yeah.
Because personal fouls are, out of everything, they're so subjective, to where it's just like you're giving even some personal fouls. You get 2 of them, you're ejected. So that a lot is weight on that. So like, if you're gonna call these personal fouls, those are the calls where I think they should be reviewable.
You're not talking about like video review. You're talking about when they buzz down and say, no,
just replay assist.
Forget what you just said. You were wrong. Here's what actually happened. I don't think that's too time consuming at all, really.
It's not. Like, the
you know what is time consuming? I'll go off on my own tangent. This drives me nuts. Everybody's it's so great now that they never blow the whistle on like an obvious incomplete pass when a guy picks it up and runs 80 yards down the field and people are chasing him and shit. No, it's not great. It's stupid. Somebody's going to get hurt doing this. Half the time it's like we all know what happened. I mean, you're an official. Blow the whistle.
And just so they do that, they don't blow the whistle because they want to be able to review it. Well,
Right.
then
You can still review it. You just wouldn't get a touchdown out of it.
Get a touchdown. So, make the
that's
play
too
review.
bad. The whistle blew. It looked like it was something else.
It's great.
We dealt with it that way for 100 years before they started doing this crap.
My God,
it drives me nuts. I was covering a game once in Dallas when they did that. It was 4 or 5 years ago. Really obvious, ball got tipped as it was coming out, and it hit on the ground, and a cowboy picks it up and goes running around and goes down the end zone. They start shooting off fireworks and, having all this crap, confetti, and everybody knew that there was no chance whatsoever that this was a fumble. And it took like 5 minutes to get everything back to normal and resume the game.
Wow. Yeah. Oh boy. Joe Guerrero, before he switch over, he does ask me, where do I get the film NFL Plus? Yes, NFL Plus. If you are not an officially licensed media member or former player, NFL Plus is the only way to get film access. The only other way is, like I said, if you're a licensed media guy or former player coach, you get access via Next Gen Stats, which Next Gen Stats is the one that is powering and sponsoring NFL Plus and NFL Pro. So it is very simple. They improved it this year. You guys do not understand how difficult watching film was in years prior. Again, I could do a whole hour show by myself talking about the glitches of that website. But thankfully this year they came out with NFL Pro, and it is so much better. It's more streamlined. So you have people out there who will say, oh, all 22 films shouldn't be accessible to the public because you get these people who post stuff that don't know what they're talking about, which is absolutely frustrating. I'm on the other side though. I say all 22 film is just a tool.
Yeah, the more information, the better, I say.
The more information, the better. It's just a tool. You use it the right way or the wrong way. So having access has helped. I know for me, having access, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am without that access. And there are a lot of great content creators out there who use that access to make great content. So
I won't mention any names, but a long time ago, 15 or 20 years ago, before this was commonly available to people outside, a very small circle, there was one guy that whenever he was in the media and whenever you would debate him on a point, his trump card would be, well, I watch the coach's tape and you don't, now everybody can watch it.
Mhm.
So,
I got a couple guesses as to who that was.
Yeah.
But I'll keep them to myself.
It's good to be able to do that. One thing, when I was a beat writer, I would sometimes watch the broadcast after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in the press box, I don't think people know this, there are monitors, but there's no volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it isn't synced up. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but the game is actually a good 45 seconds ahead of what you're seeing on TV, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And many a time, there's a stat service for media that you can get on, even if you're watching a game on TV. And like yesterday, I was looking at this at the play-by-play, and I saw, oh, okay, there's going to be a big game coming up here. So I looked up, they already had it on they'd already written it in the thing, and then there it is on my TV. So, you can't listen to the broadcasters during the game because they're not talking about what you're seeing in front of you. But I could come home and listen, and sometimes there was stuff mentioned on the broadcast that I had totally missed during the game. Yeah. So it was useful.
I remember when I took the stadium tour at the Link, Les, and we got brought up to the press room,
Mm-hmm.
and the tour guide was telling us the breakdown of yeah, it's quiet in here. You cannot say anything if you're in here. You cannot cheer. You cannot yell.
You can't cheer, but people talk and
People talk. Yeah.
and crack jokes. Sports writers are incredibly sarcastic people, and in fact, that became a real source of irritation. They have a lot of Eagles people, like executives and stuff, not Howie, but lower level executives sitting behind us, and we would make fun of stuff, and they get
Oh my God, that's awesome. That's incredible. All right, yeah. So I do want to switch to the offense for a second before you go, Les.
All right.
A quick. I do have a quick question to pose to everyone. But Ryan Swope, he kind of like alludes into it. So let's go. Do you guys think Jalen Hurts should take over and run this team when he has to? Is it a concern to you guys come playoff time? It may not seem like a big deal because they're winning, but come playoff time, Barkley can't be the only one carrying this team. It will be a big concern come playoff time if Hurts can't get around 230 yards passing.
I was disappointed by the passing number yesterday. I thought going against Baltimore, they would need more than they actually ended up needing from Jalen Hurts. And again, the start was so horrendous. That's what I want to see. I do think in the second half yesterday, he only threw it a couple times.
Yeah.
But I think he gets to a point in most games where he can take over and run the team and do the things that need to be. But he doesn't start out games that way at all. Mm-hmm. And that is a concern. But there was last year, right before the collapse, Jalen had some games where he was really carrying the team, throwing the ball, with his arm. Yeah. And we just haven't seen that this year. There hasn't, because of Barkley, they haven't really needed it, and we haven't seen it. And I would like to see it, frankly. I thought yesterday would be the day because Baltimore had such a great running defense. I thought they'd have to do it, but they didn't. And they didn't. And I'd like to find that out one of these days if he could throw 3 or 4 touchdown passes if he needed to.
So Swoopy here, he seems to be not in love with the formula. This is the formula that's going to get – if they're going to win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl or win a bunch of playoff games, this is the formula. It's Saquon Barkley, it's defense, and Jalen Hurts just, number one, being clean, meaning not turning the football over, and, just using his legs to make plays, extend plays, and do those quick slants to A.J. Brown, which no one in the league can stop. And when they stop that, he just chucks it up to A.J. Brown, and it seems to work. And
be Troy Aikman, literally. Like, have a good running game. Trust your offensive linemen. Throw it to your really good wide receivers. Make the plays when they're available. You know what? I'd be fine with that. If he's just Troy Aikman in the playoffs, trust what the defense has given you, and you trust your star franchise running back to just run it down their throats, I don't care. Like, it's not like it's Jimmy G in that NFC Championship game where he's throwing it 4 times. Like, guess what? Jalen doesn't have to throw it 35, 40 times. This is
no, I don't think so. No, but I would like to see that he could win a game with his arm if he had to.
I trust that he can do that. Like, because we've seen him do that. Like, it's not like we've never seen Hurts do that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that here's the thing, Ryan. I think that you saying come playoff time, Barkley can't be the only one carrying this team. The Ravens' run defense was one of the best run defenses in the whole league, and we ran on them. Granted, it wasn't like the most successful, but Saquon still got his. Now, we also were banged up. One of the key, and this seems so little, but I'm going to say it because it's really not that little. Johnny Wilson being out, he was a vital part of the blocking schemes for a lot of what they were doing as a blocking wide receiver. Him being out played a factor. And then you add in the fact
that one short yardage they didn't pick up. I saw Paris Campbell trying to block a linebacker. They did not go well.
Exactly. And then you have this Devontae Smith being out, who is a very willing blocker, and then he also opens stuff up for the passing game. Like, I'm not making excuses, but I am not concerned because like what PY said, we've seen Hurts and this passing offense make plays when they need to, but it's
Yes.
the difference is with this team, the amount of times they need to is going to be far less, and that's why.
That's well said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not gonna be. So I'm not concerned. Any offensive takeaways other than that, and anything else? There's not much to say on offense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't have a lot of snaps. It was
one thing I'll say real quick. Dallas Goedert's out week to week now with a knee injury,
possible IR too,
which really his whole career has kind of been like this.
Yep.
It's so when he showed up, I like Zach Ertz a lot. I had a pretty good relationship with him. I knew his family. And when Goddard came in, there was a lot of this talk about, well, now we're going to have a real tight end instead of this little wussy guy.
It's too bad Pete's not here because Pete was I think it was after 2000. Was it after 20?
No yak Zach. Do you know how many times I've yelled at the stadium? No yak Zach.
Oh my God, Pete was like, trade Ertz now because Goddard is the future. Like, he was one of those people who argued it. So.
It would be nice if Goddard could play more than 3 or 4 games in a row at some point in his career. I'd like to see that. But
Goddard's bad. Like we
it's not his fault, but
his
best is not even like half of what Ertz's was.
I wouldn't say that. Like, there are different types of tight ends.
I would say 2 things against him. One is the injuries. The other is, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but he's had more big drops and screw-ups in his career than Ertz ever did.
Yes.
We talk about the yak stuff with Zach Ertz all the time, and all I heard from the second that Dallas Goedert stepped into the Eagles uniform was like, "Oh man, we're gonna have a real tight end now." Zach Ertz was fine, but he doesn't get that yak. You know what? You can say whatever you want about Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz played. Zach Ertz was on the field. Zach Ertz, other than his first few years of the league where he was dealing with some injury stuff, he stayed relatively healthy and he played through stuff. And yak this, yak that. Biggest play, one of the biggest plays in Eagles history. He made it.
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. And I don't mean to, I'm being a little too harsh here on Goddard, but it is amazing that again we're dealing with this. He just got back. It seems like I don't know. There's no. I do think they'll draft a tight end this year. Frankly. Pretty high.
I mean, I've always thought Dallas Goedert was just kind of he's okay. I didn't understand his contract extension.
They thought he would be Travis Kelce or Kittle or
he's not.
He's not. Nope, never has been. Really,
he's like a tier under them. He's like,
I was salivating during draft season when I was reading those Brock Bowers rumors. Salivating.
I wish I would have been all for Brock Bowers if he fell, but he didn't. He wasn't going to fall. Dallas Goedert, he is when he's at his peak. I'd say he's at the very top of that next tier of tight ends. You know what I mean? He's not Kittle or Kelce, but if you were to tier them. I'd say he's number 1 on that second tier. So that's where he's been, and he's been so good. Unlike you, Brinks, I do like the extension he did get because when he's on the field, he's a great tight end. And he does everything. But again, and we'll have this discussion with Pete when he's on, maybe this offseason. But I thought that the hate
Njoku.
I thought the hate that Ertz got toward the end. All because they wanted.
It was ridiculous.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with Wentz. Wentz's guy, and when people started hating Wentz, with the commutative property of football or something, they decided to hate Ertz as well because he was his favorite target.
Yeah.
That was so funny to me because they're like, Wentz over targets Ertz. What are you talking about? Foles target the hell out of him too, because when Foles was doing his 2-year run here in 13 and 14, Ertz was getting his targets too, especially during the Super Bowl run too.
I think the target share percentages were pretty similar. So I think it was more so.
Dallas Goedert's always hurt, but I've never seen a tight end run a 5-yard route on 3rd and 6 more than Zach Ertz. ever. I like Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
He was pretty good,
Okay.
but like drives me nuts. My biggest pet peeve in football. Oh, it's 3rd and 7. Let's run a 5-yard route. No.
The Goddard thing is, it's not the fact that he gets hurt that bothers me. It's always like in these most ridiculous situations, like the Cowboys last year. You got like a 15-yard run on the left side of the field. You're good to go. You just walk out of bounds. He like fights for that extra out of bounds and puts himself in a position that is just, you can just sense something bad is about to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. But before we get into too much Ertz or Goddard hate, last question for you both, and I know HUD posted this whole question on Twitter. Zach Bond, Milton Williams, Mekhi Becton. If you were to rank them by priority for giving an extension this offseason or immediately, how would you rank them? Les?
Exactly like that.
How did I say it? Bond, and then Becton? I forget how
Bond. Who was second?
I don't remember who I said second. I know Bond was first, and then I think I said Milton.
Williams. Bond, Williams, Becton. Yeah, that looks good to me.
I agree. Brinks.
Because you don't have to have Becton. I mean, I like him.
Who was it?
But
Bond.
you got Tyler Steen.
Bond, Becton, Williams.
Okay, you'd go Becton over Williams then.
I think I would too.
I don't think I would, because you don't have that many D tackles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they could always find another good D tackle somewhere. Like the offensive line.
You could another offensive lineman. We asked out.
You can find a guard. You can find a defensive lineman.
You could find an offensive lineman too. I don't know if that's a good.
I care more about an elite offensive lineman than one really good D tackle.
I don't know, I don't know about that. But here's another factor that I think is the difference. I think with how scarce and in premium the offensive line is around the league, Becton is going to get a huge contract offer from another team. No. And I'm not saying Milton won't. Milton's probably going to get another good offer too. But the fact that Becton is a former first-round pick who was resurrected here and has looked great, I guarantee you a team is going to look at that and be like, he can be our right tackle. He can be our franchise right tackle. They're going to give him a lot of money. So
that's dangerous because he's not good at that.
That's not our problem. I'm just saying. Like I'm just
the setup that this team has right now with Juergens, who's like Kelsey's undersized.
Wow.
He has two monsters next to him at guard.
Yeah,
Landon Dickerson.
Setup. You're right.
Landon Dickerson's huge, and I believe he signed for a long time. I believe he's been paid already. Yes. And Becton's next to him.
Yeah.
And Becton is I mean, he's like 6'7", like 350.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like that makes it a lot easier for Juergens to
wrong guy.
I don't doubt it, but again, Brinks, it comes down to what Becton wants. Does Becton want a big contract?
Yeah.
Or does he want to stay here? So I'm not going to fault him for either option. It would be great.
The other two guys are bigger priorities, I think. Certainly Bond. And that's going to be a tough one. But
I like Milton Williams as much as the next guy, but like.
Well, again, you just don't have a lot of depth at D tackle.
Yeah.
And the guy that you remember how we got Milton Williams and the scene with Tom Donahoe, who wouldn't high five.
Yeah, they wanted the guy from NC State.
Lee McNeil has gotten his contract from the Detroit Lions. He's one of their foundational pieces.
Yes.
So if you're going to get rid of Milton Williams, Tom Donahue has a few things to say there.
Yeah, that's like how he's saying, okay, I was wrong. But I think they were both ended up being right. Milton and Aleem have been really, really good. Milton, I think, is just overshadowed because he's got to play behind Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on base personnel. Yeah. But like, I think they were both good. But yeah, I think that I agree with you, Les. I think it's Milton being the homegrown guy and the lack of depth at defensive tackle, and adding the fact that offensive line, we've been so good at finding talent, and we have Steen. Like
Yeah,
when
that's
Steen's
the thing. They drafted
Steen's not
Steen
in,
to
like,
play that spot.
Steen has been good.
Yeah.
Steen has been good too. So there's someone waiting right there in the wing. So
They used Steen a lot yesterday as an extra
Yes.
offensive lineman
for Jumbo. Yeah, absolutely. Les, you want to sign off with us? We're at 105. So
There we go, Les.
I guess I better go. It's
Bring
past
it
my
in for a
bedtime.
land-in.
That's your bedtime.
Yes.
For all of those in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys were amazing. Great discussions today. I loved it. I love the comments from the chat. Make sure, guys, remember Baggio's bread. Make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. For myself, for Brinks, for PY, and for Les Bowen, we're Bone on the Birds. Make sure you catch all the rest of the shows here on A2D Radio. And we'll see you same time next week. Until then, go Birds. Peace out.